Really excited to get started today. Today will be a webinar going over Levitate's MCP server and a few of our AI features. So to give you an overview of today's agenda, let me first introduce myself. My name is Carson Shepherd. I'm Levitate's Product Operations Manager, and I'm here with Ben Pope, our Senior Director of AI Solutions. The first part of the meeting, I'll be going over getting the Levitate MCP server connected with Claude and ChatGPT. We found that those are our two most commonly used AI assistants. We also have a help article that covers a few other AI assistants, but for the sake of brevity, just wanted to go over the two most popular that our folks are using. I'll also be going over a little bit about what the MCP server can do connected to Levitate. I'll be going over two of our internal AI agents that Levitate built out. First, the Keep in Touch agent, and then the Meeting Prep agent. Then I'll be passing the microphone over to Ben, who has some information on how other Levitate users have been using our MCP server and AI tools. He's going to go over some case studies for folks that have seen success with that usage. And then we're going to talk about our AI solutions program. So to get started, a question I get a lot is, what is an MCP server, or what is the Levitate MCP server? The best way to describe it is a connector between your personal AI assistant, like your Claude desktop or OpenAI, and Levitate. So this connection lets you work out of your AI assistant without having to flip back and forth between Levitate and the assistant, or even a connected integration. So if you're using one of our API integrations, like Redtail, MyCase, MS360, you can also query that integration information, so everything is kind of triangulated in one place. So just want y'all to think of it as a connector that can make your life a little bit easier and pull all that Levitate information that's so important into one spot. And another really important thing is that you can ask your questions in plain English. With AI, especially now, you don't have to get super technical with it. You can have a one-on-one kind of simple conversation with it to get what you need to do. So having that top of mind is always important. And it's also really nice because your data is always current. You don't need to drop your information into your assistant or back into Levitate. It's a constant flow and update of information. And then just like with Levitate, everything is in your control. We'll never send anything without your approval or queue anything up. It's all up to you. This is just a tool to make those connections easier. So first, I'm going to exit out of the slideshow here and just go over connecting with Claude. So with Claude, I'm going to open up, going to open up my Claude app and share it. Okay, so here in Claude, you'll click into your name and look at settings. From settings, you'll go to the connectors button here. And we've made it super easy. We've added Levitate as like an app or a connector so you can browse and then search Levitate. I'm moving a little faster than Claude is today. There we go. So you'll see Levitate here. It's the mcp.levitate.ai, and click on that and connect. So here it'll launch the connection to your Levitate account where you'll authenticate just like you would with another third-party system like your email or your calendar, and allow access there. And now once you're connected, you're able to query actions in Claude. In just a minute, I'm going to go over a few of the other things that we can do with the connection with the MCP server and Levitate. But next, I'm going to hop out of Claude and I'm going to go to the help article for the MCP server. With the OpenAI and ChatGPT connection, you have to provide the URL, which I have in our help article here, mcp.levitate.ai. So I'm in ChatGPT. An important thing to know with ChatGPT and with Claude, you do need to be a paid user to be able to connect to an MCP server like this. Pretty standard. Just with the connections, you have to be a user. So in ChatGPT, I'm going to go into my settings first, and I'm going to go into security and login. And to be able to enable an MCP server like this in ChatGPT, you need to enable developer mode. And if you're not on a paid account, you might not see developer mode. Also, if you have an admin that's kind of in charge of your account, they may need to enable the ability to see developer mode. But this just allows us to do the direct connection between Levitate and the MCP server with ChatGPT. So once you have enabled the developer mode, you can go to plugins, and here you can hit browse plugins. And there's a plus button right here in the upper right hand corner that you'll click into and name it Levitate. This can be any description, but it does interact with our API. This is where that URL will go, and the authentication is OAuth. That's basically just like a single sign in login through Levitate. You click that you understand and want to continue and hit create. It'll take just a second there to get connected. And then next, you'll need to sign in with Levitate. And as long as you have your Levitate account up and open, you shouldn't have to enter your credentials. So you'll be able to take a look at that Levitate plugin when using ChatGPT. And then when you're in ChatGPT itself and choose a new chat or topic, you're going to want to click in to Levitate as a tool. So here, when you click the plus button on that new chat, you'll now see Levitate. So you'll be choosing Levitate when you want to interact with Levitate using your AI assistant. So those are two quick and easy ways to get connected. I'm going to be publishing this video on our help articles and on our YouTube. So if you need to go back and reference the connection, that will be there for you. So that is connecting with Claude and ChatGPT. And like I said, we'll have those instructions published in a help article. And we're also going to have your success specialist trained on how to get these connected. Super simple process, but I understand it's a lot of clicking around. So we'll have those resources available. And then next, I just want to go over what the MCP server does. We know how to get connected now. We know that it interacts with Levitate, but what can it do? So just like within Levitate, you can search your contacts and companies, look at tags and lists, do tagging and filtering by tags. You can search notes and contact profile timelines. You can filter by action items, like ask which action items are due today. What are the notes on this company from the past month of our meetings? You can browse your opportunity boards and other data boards like policies, donations, meetings, jobs. You can even draft, create, schedule, and interact with Levitate templates for campaigns. And you can do the same with social posts. So really what this does is give you the functionality of how Levitate works with a lot of our tools and gives you the opportunity to use it with one of your AI assistants that already has your workflows in mind or has different setups for you. So you don't have to do duplicate entry, you don't have to flip between windows, and your life can be just a little simpler. So here are some capabilities, some prompts. So show me contacts in California that I haven't talked to in the last 6 months. What did my team write about this corporation that we've met with in the last 90 days? What are the last 5 interactions I've had with a specific client? And even find companies that are tagged something and filter through tags. So it works a lot like Levitate. It kind of mimics the way that we can search and activate campaigns, social posts, data boards in Levitate with some simple questions and prompts in your AI assistant like Claude or ChatGPT. And it's really hopeful because you can take action without leaving the chat. In the past year, I found myself working so much out of Claude that it's always open on my computer. And instead of hopping between different windows and different tasks that I'm doing, I can stay in that one window and do things in Levitate, do things in other apps. So it just gives you the ease of access without having to leave your AI assistant. We also allow you to create and send. So with email and social posts, we know how important it is to stay in front of your contacts. So having that important information from the notes on their profiles to holidays coming up to how much you've interacted with them, we're able to draft out and create or edit templates in the MCP server in one of your assistants to create content for your Levitate to send out. And just like with Levitate, like if your success specialist queues up content for you. We're never going to send this without your permission. It's just going to be an extra tool to help you get some communications in the pipeline for your clients and prospects. So now I'm going to hop into going over a couple of our Levitate built AI tools. The first is our Keep in Touch agent. It's going to be an AI relationship radar that will keep up with contacts that you need to keep in touch with. Levitate started as just a plugin to your email account that lets you know who you are falling in and out of touch with, and kept up with important conversations you were having. But this AI agent really brings it full circle. I'm going to show you how to set it up. And this will happen in your Levitate account. So gonna exit out here. And in Levitate, this is something that your success specialist or our support team can enable for you. And I'm going to go over how setting it up works and what the output looks like. So, as long as you have the settings turned on from your success specialist or support, you can go to contacts. And here you'll see a new tab at the top that says keep in touch. This is powered by AI, and you can have as many jobs as you'd like. So if you want to create and manage your jobs, you'll hit the manage jobs button. I have a pretty simple keep in touch agent set up just for the sake of an example. So I'm going to take a look at it. And this is for client keep in touch. And I want to keep up with my clients, any change in their profiles, their lives, and to be able to send individual notes and have anecdotes to share for our next meeting. So this allows Levitate to run research on these contacts in your account so you can keep up with them, see if they've had a job change on LinkedIn or have an article written about their business. It's just a great way to keep in touch. You can also set the scope to be for all users on your account. So if you would like everyone using Levitate to get these same updates from the Keep in Touch AI, you can do that. Or you can just have it for you so that you have it at your fingertips when you are ready for meetings and outreach for the day. So you can either set it to run on a nightly schedule, which is super convenient. You can wake up the next morning and get to your desk and check out the updates on the AI assistant. But you can also set it to just be run manually. So if you have a big meeting coming up or something important with like your donors or your A-tier clients, it's a great way to keep up with them. So when you save the changes, it'll save the configurations. And like I said, you can have multiple configurations. So you could have an assistant for your clients, you could have one for your prospects, or even Windocs, people that you're trying to get back on your books. So just a lot that you can do here. And I'm going to show y'all that what it looks like when you have that configuration set up. So here, once it runs, you'll see your client. So these folks are in my test account, tagged as client. It gives reasoning behind why they were added to this job. It gives some action items, it gives a conclusion, and it'll also give some suggested outreach. So just like a suggested email to send off to keep in touch. You can also add notes, you can send an email, you can snooze. So that means that they won't be run again until you ask it to be run. And then you can also do not suggest again. So if there's a contact that you don't want to keep in touch with or don't want to see on this list, it'll remove them. So here, it's just a great way to keep up with your clients, more than just like how many days since I've reached out to them with an email or text messages. It's super honed in on the client, the why behind why we're recommending that you reach out, and then some key factors considered. And it can just make your day easier and um, make your communications a lot more personalized and thoughtful. And like I said, that keep in touch agent is something that your success specialist or our support team can help you enable. But on your end, you do all the configuration by adding instructions, adding prompts, and adding different kinds of considerations. And like I said, it looks at the timeline activity of these clients. So the emails that you've sent, the text messages, the meetings you've had, the phone calls that you've logged, the surveys they've responded to, whether it was like a personal versus automated outreach. So if it was just an automation step based on a tag that they were given, or if it was a one-on-one email that you sent. It'll also look at data boards that have really important client information. So like policy information, the last time they donated, when they had a last completed job, and even career updates and external signals like job changes. Something that this is really helpful with is that it searches the web as well. So if your contact posted a new job update or a promotion on LinkedIn, that can be tracked too. And then also events and other engagement history that lives on that contact profile. For the clients, each client is going to get a score when they're run through the Keep in Touch agent that gives highest priority first out of 100. And it gives you a unified list that you can then go through and decide who to reach out to. And like I said, when you click into each contact that is run through the Keep in Touch agent, it gives the reason behind why they were suggested and what it's found. And then another agent, this is my personal favorite. I use it every day and it makes my day feel so much better. It's the Meeting Prep AI agent that looks at your connected calendar and gives you the rundown for what you're meeting about and who you're meeting with every single day. So just to show y'all what that looks like, I'm going to hop back into my Levitate account. And this is something that you can configure on your own. Your success specialist or one of our support specialists will need to turn this feature on. But once it's on, you can get it configured under settings. And meeting prep is a new choice here. So here you can choose to get a morning brief every single morning, or you can run it manually if you don't have it turned on for every single morning. You can set the send time, which is minus 7 a.m. That's around when I wake up, and you can set it for whenever you'd like. You can deliver on weekends, and you can include internal attendees. So if you have meetings with folks in your office that are also on Levitate, it can detail those as well. Or if you'd rather not have those listed and organized, you can remove that. So you can set a default focus and tone. These are just plain English instructions for how it should work with you. Think of it as your assistant looking over your calendar every morning and giving you the rundown of what's important before you get started. So here I just said focus on the meetings I have, what they will be about, but also who will be in those meetings with me. And once you save it, you'll receive an email every morning when that is set up. And I'm going to show y'all what one of those emails will look like. So this is a meeting prep for yesterday. So it gives me a rundown of all the meetings that I have for the day, some details of who I'll be meeting with, what to know about the attendees, recent activity and themes from past meetings, talking points, questions. And it does that for all of my meetings for the day and just gives really important insight that will set me up for success on all of my meetings. This is something that I used to like to do. I would sit down in the morning before I started for the day and went through all my meetings. But that takes a good chunk of time, especially if you're busy. So it's really nice to have a tool like this to give you the rundown of all your meetings for the day without taking time out of your calendar. And now I've gone through kind of how to set everything up, how to enable some of our really awesome new tools. And now I'm going to hand over the mic to Ben Pope, who is our Senior Director of AI Solutions, who will have a lot to share with y'all and some exciting propositions for our folks interested in AI.
Thanks so much, Carson. Super fun tools that I also use the meeting prep every day, and that thing has saved my life so many times. And thank you guys who are with us. I'm just going to kind of talk through a couple of use cases and even demonstrate how you could use the MCP directly in Claude if you wanted to run a manual meeting prep as well. I'm going to talk through a couple of case studies that we've already worked with existing customers to build out in ways that your peers are using AI already. And I'll kind of finish out the webinar by talking a little bit about our new beta AI solutions program, which I'm super excited to head up and we've been having a lot of fun with. And so just to kind of get us started here, the big four workflows, if you go back and watch the recording to this webinar and you follow along and get the MCP connected, the really cool thing is you can directly in ChatGPT or Claude ask these types of questions that Carson was showing earlier. And so even if you wanted to run the morning brief manually, you have an option of having it delivered to your inbox automatically every morning, which is fantastic. But let's say it's the middle of the day and maybe a couple of meetings popped up, you can actually take a prompt and ask it directly. And so what that looks like, if I'm just going to bring up my Claude window here, and I pre-ran it ahead of this, so I don't want to make you guys wait, but in a net new chat window you can open up and just drop in that same prompt. And it is smart enough to know to go and talk to Levitate and pull in that information. Check all of your calendar events, check your contacts. In this prompt, I specifically said, hey, flag anybody I owe a follow up to. And so if you're diligent at making sure that either you're putting in notes to your contacts in Levitate, or you're diligent in using Claude to put in notes to your contacts in Levitate, it gets all of that context automatically. And you can kind of see its logic here reasoning through in order to get that information. And so sometimes it'll ask you little prompts just so you guys don't have to sit through all of this. I just kind of jumped ahead to the output from when I ran it about an hour ago, and it'll tell me that full calendar schedule, pulling in all the events from my calendar. And I actually just got off of a conversation with one of our customers, Christy Bennett. And so being able to, at the end of my day, after going through my meetings, saying, oh, yeah, I need to reach out to Christy. Hey, Claude, can you draft an email to her? Has been an absolute game changer. And so it's been pretty phenomenal to leverage the MCP in that way. And so any one of these you can explore with and experiment with. And let's say, for example, if you want to use the Keep in Touch agent through Levitate, that's great. If you personally feel like, hey, I want to try to reach out in Claude directly and put in this prompt, it'll go through that same process, look through your contacts, see if you've emailed them in the past 6 months. It can even apply a tag and draft a short follow-up email for you to send out to them. Post meeting wrap-ups is really valuable. I tend to run this after I have a meeting with somebody just so that I can have the notes and actually auto-populate those notes within Levitate so I don't have to open it up and navigate to that contact record and populate them manually. Or if there's an event follow-up, trying to pull anybody who wasn't able to attend and tagging them and going ahead and drafting a "we missed you" email just really speeds things up. And so these are just a couple of workflows that you guys can test out if they're relevant to you. But I would really encourage you, once you get the tools connected, to experiment and play and kind of see what's possible. So we have already worked with a handful of pilot customers on some back end business workflows that have really sped them up. I think when a lot of people think about AI, the most common use case is to have it write them a couple emails or maybe have them generate an image. But what most people don't know is that AI actually is really good at automating some of those very manual, tedious back office tasks. So we actually had one of our clients who's a commercial real estate advisory firm, one had a meeting prep manual issue that Carson was talking about. And so we were able to enable them with that feature that's available to all of you guys. And they were pretty excited about that. But the real game changing win for them was they had this 2.5 week process where 25 people would all have to search through their ShareFile instance, which is a secure file sharing platform, in order to look through past deals. So every time they would get a new potential deal coming down the pipeline, they'd want to look through all of their past history to see if there's anything relevant that they can use and kind of recycle. But to organize 25 people all searching through their data and these very large files, it took a really long time. And we were able to come in and build a AI workflow for them that took that 2.5 week process down to just 20 minutes. And so if you guys have ever been a part of a project where there's multiple people involved, having to dig through manual files, having to coordinate on them and kind of prepare findings and consolidate that information. These are the types of tasks that AI is phenomenal at doing and really cutting out that time so that they can focus on what we believe is really important, which is staying in front of customers, building those authentic relationships, and not, clicking buttons and reading through old scripts and files and stuff like that. And so their founder was really excited and said some nice words about it. And we're happy that it worked for them. And we were able to kind of take them from, hey, we know that we should be using AI, but we're just not sure how, to now they're actively using it to improve their business. On the accounting side, we're working with a pilot customer who, if you're in accounting and on the webinar, you know that every time a client owes you a document like a 1090, having to go back into the CRM, navigate to that client, figuring out what they owe you, and then drafting the communication to reach out to them. And you have to keep doing it over and over until they're able to get you the document that you need. It takes a lot of time. Every time you have to pull a file back off of the shelf, right, is just time that's slowing you down. And especially during tax season, that time is, as you know, extremely critical. And so we're working with this client and we're building out this, what we call the document chaser feature, that will talk to his database. He actually uses TaxDome and he'll export a CSV and kind of drop it in Claude. And it will automatically draft and send email pending his review and approval out to everybody who owes him a document, reminding them, hey, you owe us 1090, please upload it to this area here, or respond with that document if they don't need it to be securely uploaded. And so that way, instead of having to go through his handful of clients and do this every single time, it happens in bulk and without him having to pay attention to it, which, especially during tax season, will save him over 100 hours. And he's really excited about that without having to constantly nag people or stay on top of it himself. It's a great task to kind of outsource to AI. And so we're really excited about this feature. And we're also working with a private wealth advisory practice who's actually local to Raleigh. And they had a couple pain points that they surfaced to us. One, and I'm sure that this person isn't alone, was drowning in their emails. And so having almost 1,600 unread emails is just kind of untenable to manage them and work through them, especially when they're coming in dozens a day. And so part of that issue resulted in he sent a task over to somebody on his team on a Friday. And that person, I think, had already left for the weekend. And by the time they came back on Monday, so many emails had come in that it just got completely buried. And this person never actually completed the task. Well, that task ended up being pretty costly and resulted in a client missing out on a $30,000 tax hit that the private wealth advisory firm had to then cover, which was a crazy expensive mistake, all because of them being inundated with too many emails and having a hard time staying on top of, has every single task been completed? And so what we're working with them on building is a personal inbox assistant that will triage any email that is more important, check if the action items are outstanding, if they haven't been created yet, and need to get complete. That way, this client can come in and just say, hey, what do I need to be paying attention to today? And AI is smart enough to go through all of the inboxes and see if the tasks have been completed, that he can stay on top of that and prevent another $30,000 miss, which he just can't do because it's not a good business model. And so the business unit that we're starting up that's in beta is called our AI Solutions Unit. And that's what I'm heading up. And what we do is we reach out to clients and we'll work with them to figure out where the hours in their day are going. There's a stat kind of floating around out there that about 60% of work is work about work. And so you can imagine that actually looks like copying and pasting information from one system to another, reformatting information. Sometimes you'll make a couple edits or just sending information to the right person. And this ends up taking a ton of time that isn't particularly revenue generating and just makes your business margins a lot tougher. And so by being able to go in, speak with our clients and figure out where those hours going today, we can then work with them to build out that Levitate AI agent that automates that task in real time. And it's a very hands-on white glove approach where we really work with you to make sure that's built well and maintained over time. AI is kind of constantly changing. New models are always coming out, and best practices one month may be completely outdated the next month. And so it's really critical in order to work together to stay on top of those changes and make sure that your solution that works one day continues to work the next as the underlying models change. And then, unlike some traditional consulting firms, our values are to really prove a lot of value quickly and get you guys up and running in a couple of weeks instead of months. I think for any owner of a business knows that if something is scheduled for months out, it may as well not happen because the value is gone at that point, or maybe the landscape has completely changed. And so by being able to come in and deploy real workflows that save real time quickly has been a huge win to our current pilot customers. And so it's been a whole lot of fun to build, and that's actually something that is available to all of you if you're interested. I have up here a QR code, but then Carson's also going to drop the link in the chat. I think all of you may have gotten an email ahead of this webinar, and you'll get one after this webinar too. But if you're interested in setting up a conversation with me, go ahead and fill out this survey. And then the person who has the best use case for an automation, something that can be automated with AI, we're actually giving away a whole year of Claude Pro, which is about a $200 value to the use case that we think is the most creative and valuable to the business. And so fill out this survey, and then we'll be in touch and reach out to schedule some time and sit down and kind of go through that process that I talked about on the last slide. And that's what I have.
Thanks so much, Ben. We are so excited to talk to y'all about this. The MCP server and our AI solutions have been a great topic of conversation with our clients. Like Ben said, the link to the survey he mentioned is in the chat. It should be in the email that I sent out to y'all on Monday and Tuesday. And I'll also be sending out a follow up email with the recording of this webinar, along with some documentation and resources for you to check out, and the link to the survey one more time. So we really look forward to hearing from folks with ideas about how AI can make their day a little better, along with Levitate. But thanks so much, everyone, for hopping on, and we'll talk to y'all soon.